That should take us about 5 minutes.
Aye.
Okay.
All right.
You know, as usual, I always want to fully open with prayer. So welcome, Darty. I ask you to open us with prayer, please.
All right. Mahalo kia koa for this beautiful day and for allowing us to gather as the Cultural Resource Commission for Hawaii County. We are grateful for the opportunity we have to meet and discuss the matters of our aina that are so important, that we malama and do the things that we need to do to protect our aina at all times. We are grateful for our commissioners that are here, that take the time to do what is right and be a part of the commission and pay attention to the details of the needs of our community as well as our aina. We are grateful for all of our other people that are here on this meeting. We ask that you continue to guide us in righteousness, and we continue to look for your favor in all things that we do, and we say these things humbly. Amen.
Amen. Mahalo, Darty. Hello, Mike Kako. Good morning to everyone, especially our commissioners and our staff and others that's on board now with us. The hybrid meeting of the Cultural Resource Commission will now come to order. Quorum has been established with 5 members in attendance. Today is Wednesday, June 18, 2025. It's now 10:13 in the morning. Pursuant to Act 220, Session Laws of Hawaii 2021, which amended the Sunshine Law to allow meetings to be remotely conducted online, effective January 1st, 2022. The Cultural Resources Commission will host a hybrid meeting of online and in-person participants. An in-person location has been identified on the agenda for the public to provide testimony on agenda items and to view the meeting. This meeting can also be viewed online. A link to the YouTube live stream is provided on the county website. The video recording will also remain on the YouTube channel for those who are not able to watch it live. Reports and surveys reviewed during this hearing are also available on the county website. As a reminder, commissioners, please be reminded that only one person may speak at a time. Raise your hand to be recognized if you have a question or a comment. Commissioners, please introduce yourselves and report if others are present in your location. I'll start. I'm Desmond Haumia, Vice Chair, here with 8 puppies. Australian Shepherd, be ready in 2 weeks if anybody wants Australian Shepherds. Yeah, aloha. Matt.
Aloha, Matt Clark, Chair. I'm currently in the woods with no one around me.
Hey, Darty.
Aloha, Darty Gamayo, Chair, new to the whole process, and this is my virgin maiden voyage today. Although my 2-year-old grandson is running around with his dad, they are nowhere in the vicinity unless he decides to rush in and give Mama a honey. But I told him he cannot, so he should be able to survive in the meantime.
When it involves the baby, always get break for that. Not a problem.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Ku'ule.
Aloha pumehana ya kako. I'm Ku'ulei Kekealani, and I have my one daughter at home with me now. Mahalo anui.
Mahalo ke aloha nui a puna opuna.
Wrong button.
Wrong. Sorry. Commissioner Kilo, I'm in my office alone today, and welcome, Darty. Mahalo.
I noticed we had no response of mahalo. Response from Nicole. Is Janet here? I don't see her. Janet sick?
No, Janet was not able to make it.
Okay. And we're gonna wait on Aaron. And also, our commission, Culture Commission staff supporting us today is Kevin and Kim, our planners, Ashley DeVera, board secretary, and Ashley, thanks for the script. And of course, Jean Campbell. Pursuant to HRS 92-3, interested persons who want to provide oral testimony may do so either at the beginning of the meeting when the board takes public statements on the agenda or immediately before the specific agenda item is called. Staff, please indicate if there are any members of the public wishing to provide testimony online or in person.
Thank you. No, there are not at this time.
So as we're just gonna move to our administrative matters at this point, which is to approval of minutes of May 14, 2025. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the Cultural Resources Commission meeting held on May 14, 2025?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the Cultural Resource Commission held on May 14th, 2025.
If I can get a second to that.
I second the motion.
Okay, it was moved by Commissioner Matt Clark and seconded by Keloha Kini. Any discussions? Corrections? Complaints? No. All in favor, say aye. Oh, Dottie, you had your hand up. Oh, well, you're going to honor you, baby. All in favor, say aye by raising your hand and
Hi.
Aye.
minutes approved as circulated. It's now 10:18, and our next item of business is going into the agenda. We're going to lose our quorum, and I'll ask for more instructions from our chair or Jean or from our staff.
We do anticipate Aaron momentarily. He's attempting to log in?
Yeah.
He's attempting login. So.
I'll put it out to the commissioners.
Yeah.
I put aside this time for our commission hearing, so,
Okay.
but I'll put it out to our commissioners. Staff has to stay there, so.
I do apologize that I'm working as a consultant on both of these matters, so I'm not able to vote on them or attend. But I did want to say aloha to Darde and welcome, and we're happy to have you on the commission. And it's great to have new commissioners, and I look forward to attending meetings with you next month.
Thank you. I'm nervously excited. I don't know. What did I get myself into? No, I'm looking forward to it. I've read. I love to read. Thank God, I love to read. So I read through like most of the stuff in the. Ashley provided me with this nice big binder of lots of reading material. So just been doing a lot of reading and catching up and just trying to get a better understanding of everything. So thank you guys in advance for putting up with me if I have a lot of questions.
And Aaron's arrived.
Doing
So we have quorum for the two agenda items.
Okay.
Okay, I will be dropping off. Mahalo,
Yes, sir.
and I will see you guys next meeting.
Aloha, Matt.
Hello, Matt. Is there any fine imposed on tardiness? No? Yeah.
Who they have her hand up?
All right, so we'll move into our agenda now. Before we do any questions, yes, go ahead, Ku'ule.
I was consulted on the Waiaka Bridge project as well. So I believe I too have to Step out. Is that correct, staff?
You did the site visits and stuff, yeah?
I wasn't able to do the site visits. Aaron did, but I was contacted. I'm not sure if by Matt Locke. Yeah. So I'm just not sure if I'm able to remain or if I gotta remove myself like Matt did.
I put it out to, I guess, to Jean and to our staff. She was involved. I remember she was involved in a couple of our meetings back then when it was first presented.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what was the scope of the involvement that you had?
I was a community member that they had reached out to give consult with on that Ike Aina of Waiaka, the river, the stream, cultural practices that we do in the stream, along the stream, those sorts of things. So yeah, I was consulted by the archaeology firm.
If I remember right, you identified Famauka to Makai, that stream, as far as Inoa. And others, yeah. So
I guess so. I think technically, if you were, I think anybody who was employed with the actual consultant, that would obviously have to step out. I think as you provided input, and so I guess I would say, I think probably the real measure is, do you feel like you can fairly evaluate what's before you today now in your different role as a commissioner? Or would, it's up to you. And you don't even have to say that you feel like you can't be fair. If you feel like you're not comfortable trying to wear both of those hats, your input is there for everybody as part of the entire package as the community consultant. If you're not comfortable or you feel like you couldn't be fair, then I think it would be appropriate to recuse. On the other side, if you feel like you can fairly evaluate it now in your separate position as a commissioner, because you were not a paid, I'm assuming you were not paid. You were just you were not a paid consultant. I think technically there is not a true conflict. But it's so the fairness evaluation is really what we would be looking at.
Okay, thank you. I'm good to remain in.
mahalo.
Right.
Any comment from our staff?
Well, the only comment I was gonna make was sort of to frame this up. This is our third and final sort of discussion meeting for the permitted interaction group. Staff's recommendation at the end of your discussion is going to be to sign on to the MOA as we've been requested, and that be the outcome of the pig. Sort of, it's come full circle now, and I think the best way to wrap it up is really just going to be with a motion to sign on to the MOA with the rest of the parties. Yeah.
Thank you. If there's members of the public that wish to provide testimony, we'll provide an opportunity provided before each agenda item is heard. If so, you have 3 minutes. It can be contentious. It could be very emotional. So I request that we put our emotions aside and get through this agenda today. So the business of the commission, our first agenda is to review and discussion of permitted interaction group report and memorandum agreement for the Waiaka Bridge realignment, PL-CRC-2 2023-00007, close paren. Location Ahupua'a of Lalamilo and Keananui o Mano, District of Kohala, Hawaii Island TMK paren 3, 6-5-001:015, comma 033, comma 6-6-001:011, comma 999, and 6-6-004:001. I'm not sure who's presenting today.
This is the opportunity for the commission to have any discussion about the site visit report that was reported at last meeting. As Jean's explained, the permitted interaction group process is a minimum of 3 meetings. This is the third and final. Serendipitously, it coincides with the MOA request, which staff believes covers the majority of, if not all of the concerns of the commission. And that MOA has been provided to you in your packet. And it outlines several stipulations, including interpretive signage and other actions that are agreed upon moving forward to mitigate the adverse effect determination of the undertaking. So y'all are free to discuss any details from the site visit report itself that we weren't allowed to have last meeting, or the commission can move to make a motion to sign on to the MOA moving forward, which is staff's recommendation.
Yeah, thank you. I want to mahalo the staff for that well-prepared letter that we requested at our second meeting. It was well written and on point. Any discussion from our commissioners?
I have a couple of questions, please. To Aaron, I wasn't able to get to the site visit, and I did miss last meeting. My apologies. For the site visit, I see TJ Kalaniopio was there from HPA, and some of the thoughts and concerns were about that stone wall that kind of is going to run parallel as you make the turn on Waiaka Bridge, and you would proceed up to Kohala Mountain Road. So along that stone wall is Pa'ilina, connected to the Phillips, Grandma Kalani Phillips, her husband, Uncle Anthony Phillips. Their children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren are the lineal descendants of those people in that Pa'ilina. But in the site visit, I think one of the things that I was looking at, or I had hoped for, is that the outer stretches or the immediate area that would be impacted did not reach that Pa'ilina, or would most of the stone wall remain intact, or would a portion of it that's closer to the bridge be disrupted and destroyed?
That's a great question, Kule. Thank you. My understanding is that the project area stops just makai of that wall. And so when I could see that flagged pin, in my mind, I was like, oh, it's so close to the wall, guaranteed like a tire or a fender, if someone's driving right there.
Yeah.
Also like just the rumbling of equipment. But as far as I know, the wall is outside of the project area. It was just like a precaution because of the proximity to say, hey, you might as well, the engineering team, you might as well put something in the budget and the schedule to establish the rock wall, especially if it happens to be damaged, unintentionally during the course of construction.
Yeah, I had a concern too because of the project area, Mauka of the bridge, where there was a picture of that dam. I want to know what the dam was used for, But as you said, it's outside of the project area. But I would like to know what that is too. I mean,
Yeah, it's definitely a modern construction and it's unclear if it was done. You know, I'm sorry, I didn't walk up the stream to it to look for a date on it, but I only really noticed it in the photograph after the meeting.
right. And you know, if it diverts water flow, I want to know where it goes, for one thing. But sadly enough, it's outside of the project, the research area.
Just a precaution for anybody, if you do walk the stream bed, it's incredibly slippery, so just take precaution.
So, you know, just for, I took some of my students, we went and we in Mahaoi and Ni'ele, that whole area, to look where that dam was, and just to do some research. It's definitely, it's dangerous, and I suggest not going up there or being careful. But thank you, Aaron. Cool. Anybody else? Any other commissioner? If not, we have an agenda to approve this MOA, I believe. Do we allow us outside of the commissioners for any public testimony or on the
No,
agenda
nope.
is to just approve the MOA, if I'm not mistaken?
We don't have any parties signed up to testify.
Oh, okay.
I believe the motion would be not necessarily to approve the MOA itself, but to sign on to it
Okay.
as a concurring party. So in effect, yes,
Yeah.
by approving, you know, the sign on, you'd be saying that it's a good MOA.
So I ask the commissioner to make a motion to sign on to the MOA, the memorandum of agreement.
This is Commissioner Spielman. I'd like to make a motion to sign on to the MOA that's been presented to us as a concurring party.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. So we have a motion by Commissioner Aaron Spielman and a second by Ku'ule Keakealani. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Abstaining, Kanalua? No. Any vote of no confidence? No. Then this motion is approved. Okay. Things are looking good for you, Gene. Moving on to our next business, Section 106 review, Wailuku River Bridge rehabilitation. Parent PL-CRC-2023-000007. Close parent, location Ahupua'a, Avlalamilo, Keananui, Omano, District of, I'm sorry, I'm getting lost over here. PLC CRC -2025-000024. Close parent, location Hawaii Belt Road, Pu'ueo and Pi'ihonua, Ahupua'a. Hilumoku, Hawaii Island, TMK parent.
Sorry, Chair, if you don't want to read all of those TMK numbers, and Gene, you can clarify, you can just say as stated on the agenda. You don't have to read those numbers.
Yeah. Okay. Any discussion by our commissioners as presented in the agenda?
Yeah.
And so the barrel counts, so you got to read every one. But anyway, okay. State of Hawaii, that's fine. Sorry.
We do have several members of the Hawaii Department of Transportation here representing the project, and there is a PowerPoint that they can introduce the project to you much better than myself. I believe Ms. Russell, are you going to to lead that at this time.
Yes.
And let me know if you should be able to share your screen, but if you want us to load the PowerPoint and you dictate to us, next slide, just let me know.
Okay. Can you confirm you can hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'll try to share this screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Aloha everyone, commissioners and CRC staff. I'm Jennifer Russell of the Hawaii Department of Transportation, project manager for the Wailuku River Bridge Rehabilitation Project. This is federal aid project number BR-019-2 parentheses 083. This is located in Hilo on the island of Hawaii. Thank you for the opportunity to share information about our project. So let me begin by providing some background regarding the historic significance of the bridge. Wailuku River Bridge was originally constructed in 1911 to 1912 and irreparably damaged by the 1946 tsunami. And then in 1950, the bridge was rebuilt on Hawaii Belt Road on the piers of the old railroad bridge as part of the seismic wave damage rehabilitation project under the direction of Master Engineer William R. Bartels. So the bridge was constructed of steel, which is rare, especially in the extreme marine environment of Hawaii. And then in 1973, the open steel decking was replaced with a galvanized steel mesh to improve vehicular safety. And the open deck design was retained to prevent the lifting action from tsunami waves. Despite alterations, the bridge retains integrity of setting, design, materials, and workmanship. So as I had mentioned earlier, the project is located, Wailuku River Bridge is located on Hawaii Belt Road, which is State Route 19 at approximately milepost 2.5 in Hilo. The purpose of our project is to address the bridge's severe deterioration identified during the latest inspection. Our proposed project includes the replacement in kind as best as possible of the entire Wailuku River Bridge. Work includes widening of the superstructure to accommodate safety compliant bridge railings and Americans with Disabilities Act or ADA compliant sidewalks, resurfacing, and restriping. During the construction, there will be 2 temporary construction and traffic detour bridges built on the Makai and Mauka side of the bridge. These 2 bridges will be used to maintain traffic flows as well as platforms to construct the Wailuku River Bridge. So as shown on the map, the area of potential effect extends approximately 2,450 feet from its southern terminus to northern terminus. The bridge itself, in yellow, measures 422 feet long. The total area of the APE is 8.2 acres and includes the bridge footprint, construction staging and stockpiling areas, and the highway right-of-way. So construction staging and stockpiling is anticipated to occur completely within the approximately 900-foot linear highway right-of-way Makai of the Kamehameha Avenue Hilo Bayfront Avenue median, beginning just south of the Waianuenue Avenue interchange. So the photo on the right is shows what the bridge currently looks like, and on the left is a rendering along with a conceptual plan of the proposed changes to the bridge. This project will involve underwater work. So some of the structural modifications entail that the bridge will be widened, as I had mentioned earlier, to accommodate wider ADA compliant sidewalks. And then the outermost piers closest to the abutments on both ends of the bridge will be removed. And the 2 center piers will be replaced. So the reason we have to remove those outermost piers is because they have created a splash zone that has accelerated the deterioration of the bridge. And then the spans between the abutments and the new piers will be concrete. The steel girders will be replaced with new steel girders coated with special material to protect against corrosion. The bridge railings will be upgraded to meet current safety standards. To the left is what they currently look like. On the right, we're proposing to upgrade them to MASH compliant railings, steel railings. The steel deck grating will also be replaced with the same kind of steel material. And as for the existing wooden sidewalk, that will be replaced with a wider concrete sidewalk stamped with a wooden pattern. And so with our project, we intend to retain the aesthetic features of the bridge while not compromising the structure's integrity and maintain the natural features of Wailuku, Kaipaloa, and the surrounding landscape. We're still in the consultation process of Section 106, and we'll have a better handle on the mitigation measures as we develop the effect determination. Our project is also adjacent to the Hilo Bayfront Avenue, Waianuenue Avenue roundabout project, and HDOT is considering advertising the two together. Right now, they're further along in their design, but we're coordinating construction phasing and traffic control plans to reduce overall traffic impacts and delays to the surrounding community. And then here is an outline of our Section 106 process. It was initiated back in December. We received SHPD's concurrence on the APE in February. We posted an ad in the newspaper on March 26. Did not receive any comments. Sent out NHO consultation letters in April. The comment period has ended, and right now we're working on the effect determination. So far, here's a list of historic properties that we have identified. There are 6 potential ones in or adjacent to the APE, including the Wailuku River Bridge. There's a concrete building foundation, concrete stairs, helo pump station, and sewer system components, a Coconut Point lighthouse, and a rock wall along Kamehameha Avenue. There are also 2 potential historic districts in the vicinity, the Pu'u'ea Historic District and the proposed downtown Hilo Historic District. 2 areas identified within the APE where subsurface work might uncover historic deposits are components of 20th century HCR alignment infrastructure, and also 6 kuleana lots may contain subsurface evidence of older traditional Hawaiian occupation of the Hilo Bay area. Okay, so a draft LRFI report is being prepared. It will assess all potentially historic properties not previously assessed for NRHP eligibility. We're also working on obtaining right of entry to conduct field surveys on adjacent private parcels, and we'll present the findings in the LRFI. A draft cultural impact assessment has also been prepared. So our anticipated impacts of our project to historic properties, we're anticipating an adverse effect, but no direct impacts to historic properties and districts anticipated. The indirect impacts are limited to the visual change to bridge alterations. And that concludes my presentation. So I guess I'll open it up for questions.
I had a couple of questions, if that's okay. With the is the you call it Coconut Point Lighthouse? Is that the at the beach park there? I think it's Kaipaloa. Kaipaloa.
I will defer to our consultant. Scott, would you be able to address that question?
Yes, hopefully everybody can hear me okay. So that lighthouse is not in the area, in the APE area.
It's
Does that
just
answer your
adjacent-
question, Aaron?
Yeah, it's just adjacent to. It's just Makai of the APE.
That's right.
Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
It just got repainted and it's got the markers on it from the tsunami heights. It's also a landmark. So I was just curious if that was in there. And then it looks to me, I was just in Hilo yesterday. It looks to me like there's some kind of like roofed structures that are adjacent to the southern side of the bridge, southern end of the bridge, I should say. Are those going to be removed entirely, or are those going to be reconstructed? They almost look like pre-war, pre-World War II features.
I think what you're referring to is the Hilo pump station and sewer system infrastructure. And those are set to remain intact, untouched. Randy, if you have any additional comments about that, but as far as you can go ahead, but as far as I understand, those are also just outside of the APE.
That is correct. We are not touching the sewer pump station.
Okay. And those are the things with like the cages that prevent people from walking down to them. It's kind of like a ladder at the southern end of the bridge.
If you're referring to the sewer pump station, that's correct. I'm not sure where you're talking about the other fences.
Okay. Yeah, it must be the same thing. It's got like a red roof and it's a concrete structure with some visible piping.
That's correct. Yeah,
Okay.
That would be the sewer pump station.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Sorry for this other question, but in my understanding, steel graded bridges are being phased out. They're considered unsafe for vehicular traffic, especially because they pull the tire. Was there any thought to doing a solid top bridge, or is that just not considered because of the past tsunami events?
I think we could put a solid top on, but I believe part of that bridge is part of the singing bridge. And part of the novelty of that bridge is to as you drive across it, you have a certain sound because of the steel grating. If it is the desire to go with like an old concrete, that could be accommodated all the way across and would save in terms of corrosion and stuff. That would be a lot easier. But I think we're trying to retain some of the historical parts of the bridge.
Okay, understood. Thank you. I know. Yeah, it's an auditory landmark as well as a visible one. Yeah, thank you for clarifying on that. Those were my only questions. Thank you.
Am I hearing that the singing bridge will still sing when this is done?
It
Okay.
will have a sound,
Okay.
yes, as you drive across it. Yeah.
Asking for a friend. No, I think that's sort of like on everybody's mind. So staff sort of recommendation position on this would be or my guidance to the commission. The APE, the area of potential effect, has been concurred. SHPO is okay with it. So this commission can confer with that as well in a motion, saying that the APE is sufficient as presented or not. And You could also, in line with our rules, confer with the adverse effect determination, which will most likely going forward result in another MOA down the road that we could sign on to. And then that's probably the most important motion that you might consider is remaining a consulting party for this action. So sort of those are the three things. The APE staying on as a consulting party, and then the effect determination. I see Commissioner Kinney has his hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just had a question for moving forward with any of those things. About with regard to that area is a renowned surf area, legendary surfing area, historical, and many stories linked to that space. And I guess my question is about the support structures on either side of Wailuku, and what type of if there's going to be any kind of dredging or what kind of effects might be anticipated from that may change how the waves break in that area, or the access of surfers to that space. I wonder if the DOT folks could comment on that.
Randy, can you help out with that?
Okay, so the intent of removing the two outside abutments is that those are the ones, as the wave breaks on those and on the revetment, that splashes up and has been corroding the two ends of the bridge. Those two ends are highly eroded and has constantly been able, it constantly needs to be repaired. By removing that break would only be on the revetment and not on the pier. The two existing piers will be enlarged a little bit with another drilled shaft on either side. We will be putting in a cofferdam around them to install those drilled shafts and the pier. So that would remain in the same alignment. In regards to changing the surf pattern, I don't think we'll be changing it, but I cannot be for sure. We will be putting those piers in the same alignment, they'll just be a little bit longer on either end. We do have an ocean engineer on staff on doing some of the tidal wave loading on the bridge, and I can ask him, but I don't have that answer now.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. Even small changes to the coastline can have big effects on how sand accumulates or how it moves within an area. And yeah, I would wonder, like, if it's going to be enlarged, I wondered, like, more enlarged towards the ocean. It's already pretty close, as it stands.
Yeah, so it'll be on either side of the existing pier. We'll put one shaft on each side and then put a new pier that encompasses the whole thing, including the old pier. So it's all going to be in the same alignment. It's just going to be sticking out a little bit longer on either side.
And then I guess the other question was just about it. It's always kind of interesting, like getting across the highway there with your surfboard, and I wonder, what kind of improvements to accessing that space might come with this improvement on the or replacement of the bridge.
Can you,
if at all?
Yeah, can you let me know how they access that site now?
Yeah, so at the intersection, there is a crosswalk over there, but people often go along the bridge as well. But there's no real like stairway, I guess, down to the water from the Mackay side of the pier over there. People just kind of like scurry down the wall or on the
I see.
coast. And yeah, I just wonder if that might be, sort of part of this process. You know, of course, that's not the focus. You guys are trying to keep a safe bridge so people can be able to move back and forth. But I know how important that space is to surfers and other folks that are connected to that space.
Okay, let me discuss that separately with HDOT and see what we can do.
Thank you. You guys.
I would assume access is maintained at a minimum and improved at best. But it would be great to hear back from HDOT on that. That is a valid gathering and recreational access point.
Right. I have a couple questions. Safety is a priority for our people. And I know I access the surfing spot depending on the size of the wave and the action of the ocean. And we access the surfing spot from the Pueo side of the bridge. We cross over those rocks there, and it's not safe. But it's safe for the surfers to get into the ocean. Aside from our surfing community, we have canoe races that go through the bridge, under the bridge, make a turn, come back out. 6 man, 1 man, 2 man, it's highly used, especially during the regatta season and canoe season. You said that those, they won't be longer. They'll be longer, but not wider. I have concern about the safety for our ocean activities for that. A lot of people utilize that bridge as a turning point. A lot of races is required to go under the bridge, make a turn, come back out on the Hilo side of the bridge, and continue the way to the finish line. So was that considered as a safety measure while this report was being studied and developed?
Sorry.
Yes? I guess this is for Randall says. So.
Yeah. I think we thought that by taking out the other 2 piers as well, we would open up more space, even though we were taking a little bit more from the additional pier. But I don't think we particularly looked at canoe races or something or other activities. We could do a further study on that. But
yeah.
We did think we would have more space by taking out the existing abutments on the sides.
Yeah, if you could look into that, we the past 3 days, this past week, we did go under the bridge. And,
okay. All right.
Yeah.
I think, Randall, did I just hear you confirm that there would be more space underneath the new bridge than there is currently?
I guess it depends on the water level as well, because the abutments on the outsides are close to the shore. So there may be, if we can take those abutments out, then we'd open up a little bit more space, especially during higher tides.
Right.
But
and then the foundations themselves under the bridge, are those going to be bigger footprints in the water than they are now?
They're going to be they're a little bit bigger, yes.
A little bit bigger. Okay.
Yeah, because we're extending them on both sides of the existing bridge.
Yeah.
They'll be wide, longer actually on the pier. The piers will be longer.
I see. You know, so the access to that area of the river is regulated by canoe clubs as far as who is steering the canoe.
Uh-huh.
But when they're not under supervision, you know, it's a thrill, especially for our youth, which is, you know, and it's, you know, we ocean people, yeah, we come from the Va'a. So it's traversed, if not every day during the week, but also on the weekend.
Sure.
So if you
Understood.
look into that, the safety on that basis, it's dangerous right now as it is, you know, but it's a thrill to go under there and and being canoe people, yeah, we have this opportunity to experience the thrill. per se. But I recognize Dorothy if she has her hand up. But thank you, Randall. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Thank you. Just a real quick question. Is the height going to be maintained as is now, or is it going to be higher, the bridge?
It is approximately the same as now. I mean, the proposed is approximately the same.
I think Aaron has his hand up. Okay.
Hey, sorry, one more question. It made me think about when the other commissioners were talking, and we've had this discussion also on our past agenda item. Is there gonna be interpretive signage, especially with the added walkway areas? Mauka and Makaya, the bridge, is that in the plan, and could we request that interpretive signage be placed, not only for the historical area and the bridge itself, but for all the other things commissioners were talking about, for the importance of that area? Is that a reasonable request?
Staff believes that would be a reasonable request with some, yes, that's a reasonable request, I would say. I'm not speaking for the applicant. But
If I may, I would like to add that, you know, because of ongoing issues with our people in Hawaii, have been experienced this, especially when it comes to the word of development, rather than rehabilitation or whatever it is. Oftentimes, and I'm just involved in this past since COVID, that a lot of projects are approved, and go ahead and make a plan. And when the people get involved, we weren't at the table during the development stages of these projects. And that you know, people are the people of Hawaii, especially our natives, they feel left out in the process. And they should be brought to the table so they can discuss this. So we do this, so we don't run into this added issues to the project. And hearing from Kealoha and concern of our commissioners, it would be good to speak with the canoe clubs, speak with the surf clubs, people that surf there. You know, when it's big surf, go set up and go, you know, introduce yourselves, and find out exactly what our surfers, canoe paddling, just our public. Because so this is like, it's a done deal, but I don't believe there was enough public input or enough of our community that brought to the table while this project was being developed. If that was possible, then I think we would move on into a more efficient manner. And that's been the history of development in Hawaii. A lot of people come and go to these outreach programs not to protest, I'll use the word protest, against issues. It's about the protest against development and no involvement from the community. One big one is this geothermal thing that I'm totally immersed in. And I think it's because people are just not informed, and what we read is not adequate enough to you know, as a native Hawaiian, I need to feel it, I need to hug it, I need to kiss it, so that I know exactly where it's coming from, which we don't like. But if we're brought to the table during the development of these developments, I guess you could say, that would really be efficient to the people as well as into the departments of the state of Hawaii. But my manao is, my thoughts is, go talk to the guys that access that place all the time. I'm one of them. You know, the surf got to be big, and I have a long 12-foot board, and access is really difficult, especially in the morning when people are going to work, when the surf is pristine, or doing canoe races when there is surf and you're required to go under that bridge. And for me as a water safety officer, safety is my concern. So I implore the Department of Transportation to involve the community more, especially those that utilizes that area besides traffic. There's a lot of traffic in the ocean too. Yeah. Mahalo.
Kule.
All right, mahalo. Thank you so much for everyone's shared manao thus far. And I just wanted to echo definitely what others have shared, and then to pose a couple other thoughts as well. So happy to entertain the thought of an MOA, and that there be inclusion, or that we continue to be involved in this, in that capacity, that we're able to speak into this and pose these questions. One of the things that grabbed my attention was the 6 kuleana lots that were identified. And although, again, much appreciated, you folks put out the word, no response, put out the word again, no response. And then I think about the 6 kuleana lots that were identified. So the ohana, therefore, would be known. So maybe a direct reach out perhaps to these ohana of these kuleana lots, and that there is that kind of ike, like Uncle Des is sharing, right, for the people that presently use it and have been using this space for some times, and then the very storied landscape, this river, the kai in that area. So to Aaron's point of signage that elevates the mo'olelo and the story, traditional narratives of that area, and how very important this area is of that moku. So I think this is all within our scope, if you will, as the Cultural Resource Commission. When we look at va'a, papa he'enalu or he'enalu, surfing, va'a, these are all traditional ways of living and practices amongst the people, our customs and traditions. And so my mind also looks at that river, that vai, and the kai in this moving water, and the things that are perhaps done in one area could be, and I think pretty confident to say that the water going carry things where the water go. And so I do understand perhaps that there's going to be, I thought I heard you say like a dam. I thought I heard copper dam or something as to, so when the underwater workings got to be done, and there's things that go into the vai, the kai, that they might be contained into this area. So that would be definitely something that comes to my mind, is maybe the containment of things that are necessary to bring the bridge up, to upgrade it, to make it safer, all of those things. And I'm sure that's all part of everybody. That's high top priority. And then maybe the last thing is, I'm pretty sure my dad, when was part of the, he calls it tech school, but or trade school, but I think he was part of the welding class that had built that that bridge. But anyway, that's such a side note. But I can appreciate, right, wanting to make the bridge safer, and the constant repair, the deterioration, the erosion, and those sorts of things are good, and they require our attention. But also in the cultural context of things that do also require our attention. But those are just some thoughts, and oia iho laku uwahi mana'o. Mahalo.
Awesome. Mahalo. This is a great commission. Moving right along. Guide me, Ashley. Um,
40 seconds.
I like that from Kule, MOA. I think that's correct in our next move here. Check in with Jean.
So if I can help us get us there, I think there would be first and foremost a decision by the commission in form of a motion to remain a consulting party to this 106 action. That's sort of first and foremost. We want to stay involved.
Yes.
Second, which is within our Kuleana, and have been requested by the applicant, which is a motion in regards to the area of potential effect itself. Either we confer with the APE as presented and as conferred with SHPO, that would be best practice as well, to have that. You can have that as a motion. Or if you don't like the APE and you think it needs to include more, then that's part of the motion. But I would urge us to defer to SHPO at this point. And then another motion would be to confer with the adverse effect determination that has been made. And you can wrap all this up in one motion. I'm just trying to piecemeal. The other, and then additional motions as you see fit, that we can include in a letter if you like. One thing I heard from HDOT was an idea that they might combine the two projects, the roundabout project with the bridge project. You may choose to, make a comment on that. If you want interpretive signage, right off the bat, that's a motion to be considered. And same goes for any other mitigation recommendations that you may have, including talking to recreational users, surfers, fishermen, canoe clubs, collecting mo'olelo, all that good stuff. We can add to those, but I think those three are sort of our first directive. Which is stay on as consulting party, the APE, and the effect determination.
I totally agree with that. The historical significance of that area is huge, from Kamehameha all the way to tomorrow. So the signage is going to be important. Not outreach to the community, but have them at the table. I think we should stay on as consultants. And I call on Ku'ile, this was her suggestion, to formulate this motion with your guidance, staff, that we put it on the record correctly. With Aaron, just let's put our heads together and Koko Kule in developing these motions. From what I hear, there's 3 separate motions. I have concerns about the roundabout. This project on the bridge is huge enough as it is. I don't think we should, that it sounds to me like we're fast tracking this. And, being from Va'a, learning from Papa Mao, we swim as fast as the slowest swimmer. So I want to separate that project. The focus on the bridge is right now because it involves ocean activities as well as, transportation. So, Kule?
Okay, well, kokua mai, kokua mai, kokua mai. Let's see. I guess first and foremost, definitely to propose this motion of continued consultation with the CRC in as much as an MOA would be created, knowing that the area of potential effect and the adverse effects, we're wanting more perhaps inclusion in the practices, whether it be va'a, lawai'a, pe'enalu, those also the incorporation of traditional narratives of that area to be presented in appropriate signage and appropriate deemed by the people who are most perhaps connected, and that it be representative of place and people of place. I think I might be going deviating and getting off track a little bit. So does that kind of sound like it's inclusive of what we're trying to to include in this motion? Or did I kind of
Keep
get
going,
us off track?
Put them all in there.
So yes, a motion to be a continued consulting party via an MOA in the section 106 consultation process, and then to include or widen perhaps the scope of what would be affected to include cultural practice, as we said, va'a, lawai'a, and surfing, and then cultural narratives in interpretive signage. Did that?
I'll ask the commissioners, you got any comment on that or addition? Anything? I'm gonna ask, if not, I'm gonna ask Aaron and our staff to clean it up. Oh, my mic, commotion. So it's clear of what we want to accomplish. Maybe Jean can put in some thoughts on that too.
I was gonna suggest, I do think that Kevin has a good approach for you, that rather than lumping everything into one big giant motion, it might be a good idea to follow Kevin's recommendation where you break it down into sort of your initial three pieces, and then the additional, which was kind of what was presented to you earlier, and then the additional things that you guys do want to add, which is the additional water users consultation and signage and whatnot. So either Aaron and or Kevin, I will defer to you guys to sort of package this into bite-sized pieces a little bit more clearly.
The motion could be that the CRC remains a consulting party, is in concurrence with the adverse effect determination, and agrees with the area of potential effect as currently presented. And that's just the geographic boundary of the project.
I think that's a very good, clear starting point. And if you work on just that piece now, then once you're done with that, you can move on to additional motions to add on.
Okay.
Your additional thoughts would be my suggestion.
Since Kule made that motion originally, if she concurs to Kevin's recommendation,
Indeed.
she needs to modify her motion, correct? So
I think her indication just now that she agrees with that is sufficient. And then you just need a second, and then you can discuss this piece of it.
I second.
Okay, so we've been, the motion has been submitted by Ku'ule Keakealani and seconded by Darty Gamayo. If there's no further, no, let's just gonna call for the vote. All those in favor say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So passed. Awesome. Second motion is, maybe Kule, you could continue on that portion of the, the traditional mo'olelo and things that are important to our lahui.
Sure. Okay, I'll try again. Let's see. So we are putting forward a recommendation as the CRC to broaden and widen the scope within the cultural context of effects, potential effects, and that include the waterways and the activities connected to yes, the immediate area, but again, that's kind of my thought about the moving water is how do we kind of make sure, and again, that thought of when happen over here, but what going to be affected or can be affected quite a distance away. So I'm not sure how to maybe word that. So kokua mai, please.
Kevin? Aaron?
Okay, so is there a concern? Is there a concern about hydraulic modeling? And for lack of it, is there actual concern by this commission that the construction replacement of the bridge is going to potentially impact surf breaks and downstream and actual sedimentation patterns and things like that, to the point where it might negatively impact these recreational activities? For whatever it's worth, I don't necessarily see a significant impact from the proposed construction, but we can sort of hold on that. I heard HDOT say they could double check with their ocean engineer and things like that. What I am hearing definite, though, is that well, I guess that's one question first. So just if that's any concern, the actual physicality.
Yeah, I mean, all what you mentioned is good for the ear, but in this report, I had nothing about traditional practices. And that includes recreational, I mean, ceremonial. A lot of people use that site to scatter ashes for their family members.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of traditional ceremonies and protocol and rituals that are conducted there in this report. All we did was, I believe, just check with SHPD, which I sit on. It never came across our agenda. But I think the narrative is the lack of traditional, reporting or research, which includes everything that happens in the ocean. As we know, you cannot stop mama when she wants to flow, she's going to come through.
That's true.
And it's historically known. But I think the narrative on that is that this is void of any traditional practices, protocols, rituals that includes all of those things that you described. This Saturday, we have scattering of ashes there for a surfer that had passed away. So if you want to include everything, then that includes everything, even the narratives, the mo'olelo, the stories of that area is very important. And not only to us, but to our children that needs to know the history of Hilo and where that name Hilo came from. How that writing came all the way from Kamehameha, not from the Pohaku all the way to tomorrow. So I think that motion should include. I'm not sure. I'll lean on the commissioners that how to word the traditional practices and protocols, things like that.
And the concern is that we just want to make sure that after this undertaking is complete, that those opportunities, areas, accesses remain at a minimum, or maybe we'd like to hear any improvements that may come from the, after the undertaking. And hopefully that is informed by community input with the users of the area and people of place. Yeah.
Well, that takes me back to what I said earlier. Had the people been involved from the start, we wouldn't be having this conversation now. So I just want to make sure that whatever goes into the motion, it's clear that, it's a long one, recreational, but if we put it into the context or the narrative of what we do as Native Hawaiians, the practices that we are daily removed from the process, is important to do it here. Yeah, manao, Commissioners Hoy.
We've made a motion that confers with the finding that there's an adverse effect. So an additional motion could be a recommendation for mitigative actions to be considered as part of the 106. One of those mitigative actions, you could sort of, one of those actions would be the interpretive signage, that there be some form level of interpretive signage, and we can make a motion on that today without getting too specific, because we're going to remain a consulting party. So that would be one, is the signage, and then I think the other one I'm hearing is the actual, or is an additional level of outreach and engagement with the users, the lineal descendants, the Kuleana lots, potentially. And yeah, and the recreational users of the area.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, especially the Kuleana lots might have EV there. We don't know. So most Kuleana land do have EV, so. Okay, Kule.
Yeah, what Kevin said. Somebody else wanna take so yes, so a motion on signage, right, Kevin? That's what we're looking at, is the integration and the continued consultancy with the CRC to not getting too much into the weeds of it all, but that we would highly recommend inclusion of mo'olelo via interpretive signage. That's one motion.
Okay.
Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
I second that.
Motion made by Kule Keakealani and seconded by Commissioner Aaron Spielman. All those in favor say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Passed. I believe the next one is, anybody wants puppies? You can bring puppies. 2 weeks, 2 weeks. The other one is to include the roundabout with this current project.
So, yeah, sorry, I may have misspoke on that. I'll defer to HDOT because they are two different projects. I believe
Yeah.
what HDOT was saying was just for the advertising, sort of the public facing moving forward that they're talking about it. I'll let them clarify that, and I'm not even sure it'll need a motion by us, but we could verbally recommend. I don't know. I almost want to hand it over to them to clarify that before I misspeak.
Yeah, they're two separate projects. And we're just considering to advertise them together. So we have one contractor overseeing the construction.
The areas themselves do overlap. When I look at the final EA and I look at the APE for the bridge, there is overlap, it appears. So it feels like it would be a prudent maneuver by HDOT to take that route, especially as it relates to the waterfront areas that are under discussion. Where surfers access and fishermen go, and there's other gathering and protocols there. It appears that the two areas do sort of overlap a little bit between the projects, but I do note one has received a final EA, that's the roundabout. I'm not sure where it is now. And then, of course, this bridge and its area of potential effect.
I feel like for our side, it would be nice to have them isolated, and we haven't reviewed the roundabout yet, as far as I'm aware. But from a efficiency construction standpoint, I can fully understand wanting to combine them. And there's probably a lot of overlap between the two items. But where the bridge, well, I don't want to speak for the roundabout, not really knowing about it, but basically maintaining access during the course of construction would be important. Safe
Yeah,
access.
I think our motion for the MOA should be enough for now, I believe.
I agree.
You know, so, and they're just being considered at this point. Puppies. Yeah, so if there's no further discussion or any other matter concerning this Wailuku River Bridge rehabilitation, I think we've come to the end of our commission hearing. Sorry about my.
Sounds good.
Anything else, commissioners? You know, none. I have a lot of people here. I see a lot of names. If anybody wants to share their thoughts and things like that, you have 30 seconds. Ashley's getting hungry already. She wants to get lunch already.
I guess.
Jeannie's got to leave. If there's no further comments, testimony, this should conclude our commission meeting today. I want to thank everybody. Also, again, welcome, Darty. You cannot leave the commission now because you had your first meeting. You're part of this mix. I want to thank the staff, especially Ashley, for holding my hand through this, and everybody attending today. I'll just close and say mahalo ke akoa, tini akoa me amakoa. This was a really beautiful meeting today, and from the bottom of my heart, mahalo. And for the songs from my puppies, bid you all farewell and aloha. This meeting is yeah. So I have a motion to adjourn.
The only thing I would add before we do adjourn is just to confirm the next meeting.
Oh, yeah, Wednesday,
Either
July
July 9th or August 13th.
Yeah. July 9th, 2025.
Yeah.
And sorry for the curveball, but do we need to approve meeting minutes?
We did that already.
Sorry, thank you. Okay.
Because you were late.
Sorry,
Just
sorry.
joking.
You were tardy, Aaron. We're gonna impose I make a motion to impose fine. Mahalo. La mai ka ikako. Have a great day. Stay close to your ohana and stay close to Keakua. Ahui ho.
Ahui ho aku no.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha no.
Aloha, everyone.
Aloha.
Aloha.